Keir Starmer's government is on shaky ground, and tonight the pressure has hit fever pitch. A petition demanding a snap general election has gathered over 2 million signatures, leaving Westminster in turmoil and the public enraged. The mastermind behind this groundswell of opposition is Michael Westwood, an everyday citizen turned accidental activist who says he's sick of being lied to. And folks, he's calling out Starmer directly, accusing the Labour leader of being too scared to face the public. With anger boiling over Labour's recent decisions and their catastrophic impact on the economy, the question remains, how long can Starmer cling to power?
I just got sick of hearing the lies coming from Labour and thought, OK, how do we express ourselves in the correct manner as a public? And this is where I come across the petition form online, dropped it on there hoping that people would pick up on it, and yeah, it's gone better than what I anticipated, to be truthful.
Yes, I know you've spoken to the Express newspaper in the last day or so, and you said that you only sent this petition to a couple of friends on WhatsApp, and it just simply ballooned from there. How on earth did it happen?
Yeah, no, that's correct. I sent it to a group of people on WhatsApp, expecting them to pass it on to family and friends, and I did say to my wife at the time, if I get 1,000 votes, I'll be chuffed. And literally, I think Elon Musk tweeted it out. It's made a bit of an impact, along with other people in the UK. And yeah, like I said, I think people are passionate about this. I think people feel betrayed. So yeah, I think everyone's got behind it for the right reasons.
Now, of course, you should get a debate in Parliament because of so many signatures. It'll be interesting to see MPs debating this. Will you go along and watch the debate?
If I was invited, I'd love to go. Truthfully, I don't think they will debate it because I think they're scared to hear what people actually want to say.
Michael Westwood never intended to make political waves. I've never been involved in politics before, he admitted during an interview with GB News. But after watching the Labour government roll out policy after policy that he says betrayed voters, he decided to act. His petition calling for a general election started small, shared with friends and family on WhatsApp, but has since exploded into a political phenomenon. If we hit 1,000 signatures, I'd have been chuffed, Westwood confessed. Instead, the petition went viral, gaining traction not just in the UK but internationally. Figures like Elon Musk even tweeted their support, helping push the signature count past 2 million. For Westwood, the message is clear. Britons feel betrayed, and they're demanding accountability. But Labour isn't listening. Starmer has outright dismissed the idea of a snap election, telling ITV that it's not how the system works. Critics argue this response only fuels public frustration, painting Starmer as out of touch and unwilling to face the people who put him in power. And it's not hard to see why voters are fed up. In just 5 months, the Labour government has rolled out a series of deeply unpopular measures, from slashing winter fuel payments for pensioners to inheritance tax changes that hit farmers hard. The timing couldn't be worse. Rachel Reeves's autumn budget has already sent shockwaves through the economy, with used car sales plummeting nearly 9% in its immediate aftermath. Market analysts are pointing to the budget's muddled messaging as a key factor in this downturn. Traditional petrol cars saw the steepest decline in sales, dropping by 10%, while diesel vehicles weren't far behind. Even electric and hybrid vehicles, which typically weather economic shifts better, saw modest declines of 3.5% and 4.6%, respectively. Alistair Campbell, an analyst at Market Check UK, called the situation dire. The used car market is a reliable gauge of economic confidence, he said. This stark drop after the budget is a worrying sign. And while Reeves tried to soften the blow by freezing fuel duty for another year, critics say it's too little, too late. For Labour, the consequences are becoming impossible to ignore. Martin Baxter, CEO of Electoral Calculus, warned that Starmer has squandered his political honeymoon period. He should have used this time to define himself and his vision, Baxter said. Instead, Starmer's leadership has been marked by increased taxes and old-school union-style politics. Voters, Baxter believes, were expecting a Tony Blair-style leader, someone who could revive the energy of New Labour. Instead, they got something closer to Jim Callaghan's Labour of the 1970s, pro-union, pro-tax, and seemingly out of step with modern Britain. The public wanted Blair 2.0, Baxter said, but what they got is disappointing them. And that disappointment isn't just theoretical. Labour MPs in marginal constituencies are reportedly feeling the heat, with some quietly voicing concerns about the party's direction. Many of these MPs relied on disillusioned Conservative voters to flip their seats in the last election. Now, with Labour's approval rating sliding, they're beginning to worry that their newly won positions are anything but secure. This is where the petition becomes more than just a symbolic act of defiance. Parliament is now required to consider the proposal for a debate, as it has passed the 100,000 signature threshold. Westwood, however, isn't optimistic about the outcome. "Truthfully, I don't think they'll debate it," he said. "I think they're scared of what people have to say." This fear of public backlash is becoming a recurring theme in Starmer's tenure. His refusal to engage with the petition, let alone the broader concerns it represents, is seen by many as a sign of weakness. Even the international response to the petition, thousands of signatures from countries like the US and France, hasn't spurred the Labour government into action. Instead, Starmer seems to be doubling down on his own narrative. "I wouldn't swap a single day in opposition for a day in power," he said recently. For Starmer, being in power means having the ability to act, even if those actions are deeply unpopular. But this approach is starting to look less like leadership and more like political hubris. As for Westwood, he remains undeterred. "I'd love to go and watch the debate if they do have one," he said, though he doubts it will happen. His focus is less on the immediate outcome and more on the broader message the petition sends. "People feel betrayed," he said simply. And it's not just voters feeling the strain. Labour's internal divisions are beginning to show. While no one is openly calling for rebellion just yet, whispers of discontent are growing louder. With more marginal seats than any party has had in decades, Labour's position is far from secure. Starmer's allies are quick to downplay the petition, framing it as an inevitable backlash in the wake of tough decisions. But even they must know that 2 million signatures, and counting, are impossible to ignore. The longer Starmer avoids addressing the public's concerns, the more he risks looking like a leader who's afraid of his own shadow. Meanwhile, the economic fallout from Reeves's budget continues to ripple across the country. Britons are tightening their belts in anticipation of more financial strain, as vehicle excise duty rates are set to double for high-emission cars starting in 2025. For many, this is just another example of Labour's failure to balance environmental goals with economic realities. The big question now is whether Labour can turn things around before it's too late. For now, the party's response to the petition, and the broader discontent it represents, will be a critical test of its ability to lead. If Labour continues to dismiss these concerns, it risks alienating not just swing voters, but also its own base. The irony of Starmer's situation is hard to ignore. After years of criticising the Conservatives for being out of touch, he now finds himself facing the same accusations. And with the public's patience wearing thin, time is running out for Starmer to prove he's the leader Britain hoped he would be. If you want to keep up with this story and see how it unfolds, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and stay tuned.